The rhythm of healing, the Octave's method. O is for observation, through stillness we find meditation and breath work that quiet the mind. In silence we listen, the answers are clear, awareness emerges, dissolving the fear. C is for compassion, for self and for all, embracing the good, the struggles, the fall. With kindness we grow, we nurture, we mend, learning to love ourselves as we extend. T is for therapy, a path we explore. Daily we practice unlocking the door. From journaling to mindfulness, healing begins. Each step is a victory as peace settles in. A is for animals and laughter so bright, like children at a play, their joy taking flight. With playfulness and movement, we rediscover the way to heal through the fun that we often delay. V is for victuals, nourishing and pure, detoxifying the body and keeping us sure. We choose what we eat with intention and grace, fueling our journey at our own pace. E is for exercise, where movement is free. We stretch and we bend in sweet harmony. Flexibility grows with choices we make. In strength and in stillness, our bodies awake. S is for socialize, where self-growth begins. Others reflect our triggers and the places within. Through relationships, our true selves we find, growing and healing with each tie that binds. The Octave's method, where all behavior makes sense. We just need to find the sense it presents. We just need to find the sense it presents. We just need to find the sense it presents.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 5 of the Trauma and Social Work Podcast. I am KJ Alexander here with my co-host, Tonya Octave, and today we have a lot of important information to dive into. But before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and let Tonya tell a little bit more about herself and what this podcast is about.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tonya Octave, and we are going into Season 5 of Trauma and Social Work Podcast, where we will be discussing and diving deep into my book called Heal the Mind, 7 Strategies Towards Mental Wellness, Happiness, and Success, Exploring Trauma, Mental Wellness, and Ways to Live a More Balanced Life. And before we begin, just a simple reminder that this podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not intended for medical, psychological, mental health, or legal advice. Although I'm a licensed professional, this is not a formal type of treatment. We may talk about things like hypnosis and meditation and things that we would do in a therapeutic, from a therapeutic perspective, but it's not a form of treatment. For individual questions about your wellness, your happiness, and your success, please seek out a professional. And if you are experiencing a mental health crisis, do call 911 or go to your nearest emergency room.
Great. Awesome. That was amazing. So with that being said, I want to make sure I tell the audience, if you haven't already, follow this page on Spotify, YouTube, and any other platforms we post episodes on. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any upcoming episodes in the future. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Trauma and Social Work Podcast. This is episode 6, and we're so glad everyone can tune in for today's episode. We have a lot of great information to dive into today regarding trauma and negative self-talk. My name is KJ Alexander, and I'm once again joined with Tonya Octave here today. And hi, Tonya. So for today's episode, what type of information do you want to start off with?
So today we're going to continue reading. So I'll continue reading. I read of the bullet points in the book, Heal the Mind, 7 Strategies Towards Mental Wellness and Success. We were on page 23. And I'll continue with bullet number 3, in which we were talking about, just to kind of give you a brief overview, is mindfulness and using that as a form of being intentional in our practices. So as I continue from last week, there is a lack of balance within the mind-body-spirit connection, leading to distress and depressive symptoms. The disruption to this balance activates one's fight, flight, or freeze responses. One may now be caring for their instinctual needs: lack of sleep, lack of proper nutrition, lack of meaningful and pleasurable activities such as reading, writing, being creative, being playful, lack of exercise causing excess energy to build up in the body can all lead to distressed health and negative thoughts. Dissatisfaction with oneself in relationship with others, leading to interpersonal relationships and challenges. One continues to think that the problem resides with the other, even when one believes they are working on themselves. There are other reasons why we tend to drift towards negative ways of thinking. To implement wellness, we need to retrain our thinking processes to deal with negative thoughts. You will need some specialized training to help you do this. A trained professional can help you identify your problems and resolve it. And so I came up with some examples in the book of what I see are common negative talks, negative thoughts, and also thoughts that I've had in the past. So one of them, like an example that people often share with me, maybe the initial thought may be, I hate my relationship. What do you think about that thought? Have you ever had an experience where that thought has come up for you yourself, or an experience where someone has told you, like, I may hate you in this relationship, where you were the receptor of the thought, I just hate this relationship?
Yeah, sure. I think we've all been there in some form or fashion. And I don't take things like that too personally, because I do know people say things when they're mad all the time that they might not necessarily mean. I look at it like, human beings like to verbalize. That's kind of how we express ourselves in a lot of ways. So I never really take a person's words with too much weight, although it does kind of, the saying that words can't hurt you is not necessarily true, because they definitely can be hurtful. But I just think that, me personally, I have a little bit of a thicker skin than that. So I don't let words tend to hurt me in that fashion.
So I'm going to challenge this a little bit, because with negative self-talk, it really is stored in the subconscious mind. And so there may be this conscious awareness that things aren't impacting me, that we have sensitivity when somebody is going through something. For example, if someone just lost somebody that they loved, we might be more patient with them as they're navigating the grief process, because we see that they're more irritable, maybe they're more angry, and they're displaying all these negative emotions. The thing with negative self-talk, think about it. And I'm still going to kind of stick with I hate this relationship. Okay, so if let me reframe this. If you were told from the time that you could even remember, and I'll say like 1, 2, 3 years old, that I hate having a son, and you heard it from me in interactions with other people, as a 4-year-old in the playground, you overhear a conversation, oh my God, I'm just so tired of having a son. He's not doing anything that I want him to do. And then by the time you're 10, you hear me in another conversation about how dissatisfied I am about this. You are getting messages consistently about the feelings of the relationship, and it has to make you feel some way. That's not someone who develops positive self-esteem and say, I have a wonderful relationship with my mom and she's contributing and bringing all of this good stuff to me. You start to feel some way. Your ego has to protect you from, and so defenses are going to come up, and you start to feel this way. And so even though I use the example of a child, When you're in a relationship and you're sending messages like, I hate this relationship, I'm just going to leave, and there's like kind of these threatening things, eventually the person's going to feel some way about it, especially if it's a continuous pattern. So I say that to say, is negative self-talk, there are things that we can do to change that. And really it involves some reframing and working with the subconscious mind. So one of the examples, so I went with the example like, I hate my relationship. And so I say, although there are struggles in my relationship, there are my struggles, and I am learning more about me in this relationship. I can be kind to myself and understand the other person if they are having a hard day. I can be calm instead of reacting in anger. So I would need to take responsibility for that thought that's consistently coming over. And what I tell people is, would you talk to your kid like that? And if you didn't have a kid, would you talk to a 2-year-old like that? So what in your mind, help me understand in your mind where it became okay to talk to somebody else like that you say you love and that you adore and you want to spend your life with, but in the moment, because you didn't eat and you're not moving your body and you're putting all kinds of junk in your body and in your mind, when did that become okay? Because we wouldn't do that to a 2-year-old. Like, a parent wouldn't say those things about hating their son to a 2-year-old, typically.
Yeah.
And that's how we have to start thinking in terms of how we are showing up in the world and communicating.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Yeah, I just think we live in a world today where people say what's on their mind, they say how they feel, and they feel how they say. So we definitely need to exercise more restraint in how we use our words, especially around people we care about, because we may forget what we said to the person, but the person may not forget what was heard or was said to them. So, we have to just be mindful. We don't forget,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in relationships, and there are thoughts that people have said to me that still stick with me to this day. And it could be 20, 30 years later. I don't know if I remember anything in my when I was about 10. I do. I remember things from my mom and dad. Little things that they said, some good stuff and some bad stuff that was hurtful, but also motivating. So we remember what people, I say it like this, like, we remember what people tells us, and when it's told to us during developmental stages of childhood, it's imprinted into the core structures of our brain, which makes it more of a challenge, not impossible, but more of a challenge to tap into. So even as we reach adulthood and we're in relationships and we say things in this unfiltered way, what does that say about us? And can we still communicate that without it being hurtful? Can we say things to people without it being degrading or humiliating or lack of compassion? I'll even use this in the work environment. When you have to fire someone, how do you fire someone in a graceful way versus allowing your emotions and your agitations to get involved, and then it becomes this big drawn out process, and then it's essentially the person gets a piece of paper and they're walked out by security? When did we become a society where that became okay? You invite the person in, you say that I've noticed some things that are going on, I've talked to you a couple of times about it, and you have a conversation with someone. And I think you have to have clear boundaries about that. You don't need to have someone become maybe disrespectful of you. But sometimes people are disrespectful because they feel disrespected.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that comes from people wanting to treat people how they're treated, in kind of that reciprocity in relationships. But at the same time, it's not always the best thing to, reciprocate energy, especially if it's negative. At some point, I think a person should decide to become the bigger person and make the better choices, regardless of how other people treat you.
I agree. And I think part of my journey is that I'm always going to be the bigger person. Now, this isn't a test for people to give me experiences to see how I show up, because the only person I have to prove something to is myself. And so by saying that, even when someone, like, I'm going to, like you said, treat someone the way that you kind of want to be treated, right? So like if you want to be respected, you give respect out. And I kind of think about it like, well, what if I give respect to everybody, even if they are disrespectful to me? What if I just show up differently? Because in that still says something about my character, and that still reveals something about that other person's character.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
When I die before God, who's going to judge how I showed up, even when other people were mean or disrespectful or lying or deceitful or belittling? Because I still get a lot of that.
Oh, really? Wow.
So it's like, how can you navigate it? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you. So I was going to ask you, how do you recommend someone who aspires to be in your professional position? How do you recommend someone deal with people who may talk negative or who may defame their character, even in like public settings? How would you recommend they respond to that?
When you don't know and you haven't practiced, you gotta breathe. Because what is going to come out, you have to understand, when you were triggered, it happens so quick, that defense mechanism is going to show up. That's going to be projection, intellectualization, denial, avoidance. So whatever defense is coming up, because you've been now triggered, that defense is going to come up. That is the job of the ego. The ego wants to protect you through these experiences because it wants to keep you in status quo. It wants to keep everything imbalanced. And I say, in order for growth to happen, we got to disrupt some of that balance. We got to disrupt some of that equilibrium. So you even have to go before that. And I think that's where psychotherapy can be helpful, is because it can help you understand why you get triggered. So I'll give you an experience in where I felt someone was kind of talking down to me. So the person didn't know anything about me. They didn't know if I had an education. All they knew kind of was my physical appearance. And when the person was talking to me, they were talking to me in a way as if I was like in elementary school. And I kind of thought it was cute. So I kind of smiled and I'm like, oh yeah. And then they went into, when I decided in my mind that I was going to see this as being playful, and that really I'm the teacher and that they're kind of like the student, and there was this playful exchange. When I decided in my mind that I was going to do that, that was the defense mechanism which was invoked. And he felt encouraged. And I felt it was kind of funny, because then at the end, he had wanted me to do something for him. And he had kind of thought throughout this whole process that I was going to show up because I was very interested and stuff like that. And at the end, I just said, you know what, it's probably just not a good fit for where I'm at this point in my life. And then I took total responsibility for the conversation, because interacting in any other way is going to exert a lot of energy for this person and possibly for me. And I don't know if I want to give energy out in senseless conversations. I'm not trying to convince him to think my way. He was more of like trying to convince me or teach me or train me, whatever it may be. But it's also understanding when people are in their space, do you want to try to navigate being in their space with them? Or do you want to remain in your space? That's my goal, is to remain in my space, regardless of where other people are. And so when people gossip, and they're like, oh my God, did you see them do this, this, and that? And I've been in all kinds of families that gossip in all kinds of ways. They'll drag you in. They want to pull you in. And then next you know, you're kind of gossiping along with them. So then how can I remain in my space of not participating in what I would call like a meaningless conversation? Other than a nod, like a head of the nod, I might say like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Oh, okay. Or I might even be at a stage where I just kind of walk away and do another activity. When it comes to young people and relationships, I see that it is a battle of these two egos. And it seems like this dance could be so fierce and dramatic and torture, because there's this love and passion, and then they're negotiating who gets what. And it's demonstrated. And I think like you will start to see a lot of this negative self-talk come out in that process. One of the steps is learning how to identify what this negative self-talk is. So you have to slow down. You have to be aware, like, oh, this might be triggering. So even if you know that you're going to go into a certain environments, you know the holidays might be coming up, or birthday parties or things like that. So you might go into certain environments and you know certain things may be triggering for you. How do you prepare? What is in your toolbox that you bring with you? I have now started keeping like earplugs. I've learned this from young people. So when kids don't want to listen to their parents in this subconscious way, they always walk around with earphones, and then they kind of get it out that says like, oh, I wasn't really listening. I was in tuned in another way. So I've learned to keep earphones around me. So if I'm in places where there are conversations, sometimes I'll just put on some soft music and listen to it in the background, so that I'm not engaged in that way and I'm not activating it. Some tools that you can do is practice like positive affirmations, having a thought interruption. This does require some training. So when you get that negative thought, to really have a process in your mind that switches it, you have to identify that it's occurring. You have to identify that there's a pattern there. So that helps you sort out whatever triggers that there can be. And then you can do some reframing. And then with the reframing, you have to practice. So is this easy? Absolutely. Because all you have to do is do it. It doesn't cost money. It requires some energy, but wouldn't you rather spend the energy in having a positive outlook, positive self-talk, feeling good and motivated about yourself in the world? Or is it better for you to live in a world where you feel fat and you feel stupid and you feel like you're never going to find anyone that loves you? Like, living in a world where you feel unlovable, that's helpful to me. That's acidic. Living in a world where you feel that you are lovable, that you are worthy, that you can demonstrate compassion to everyone even when they're not giving it back to you, that's alkaline for me. And that's freeing to the mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that was a lot of value you just gave there. I kind of want to just piggyback off that a little bit. So for anybody who may be listening, maybe dealing with a situation where they're having a lot of negative talk, even if it's from other people. So what would you recommend? How do you recommend someone go about like telling someone that what they're saying is negative, or the conversations they're having just aren't going in the direction that they want them to?
So by default, you don't. Because the moment that you engage in that conversation, you have now gone outside of yourself and you are not doing the internal work. So the ideal would be is to go internal. Oh, I noticed that I'm being triggered. Okay, well, what does this mean? What is my body telling me? What messages are coming up for me? Why would I even get upset that this guy tells me that he thinks I'm stupid? What is that saying about me? So where would that like do the internal work? However, we're not there in a society, and I get it. So the practical work maybe is what can you do to get through the moment so you can maybe reflect or journal or do some of these things later. And that may be to come up with words that are non-judgmental in a way. Oh, that's interesting. I see that you have a lot of thoughts that you want to express right now. You're very passionate about this topic. Things that you can say where you're not starting to implement your opinion. Because once you've implemented the opinion, the mind now says, okay, it's triggered. Now it really wants to go into this protection mode. If you can sit in that ease, you even may be able to find a powerful message that that person is giving you. So patience, working on patience during these negative times, and with that going back and self-reflecting, hopefully before you go to sleep, so that you can vent out some of this stuff. So maybe journaling, doing an audio journal, something, talking to a trusted friend. Sometimes that can cause more chaos because remember, gossip kind of happens, but where you can vent out some of the feelings of hurt. Sometimes you might even says, thank you for being honest. That still is hurtful for me to hear. It's saying your truth. So when someone says something to you that is hurtful, instead of lashing back, maybe tying into those feelings of what you're experiencing and then expressing that. And I say this is a practice, and I say it's a practice that could cause a lot of destruction in relationships. So I say with this type of work, you really do need help with a professional, because you're not going to be able to identify all of this. You need someone, a third party, that can identify it. I gave another example in the book. And I kind of, times can be kind of interesting, and people have various opinions about law enforcement depending on where they are. So I decided to give kind of like an experience of law enforcement. So an initial thought may be, I'm afraid to go out. As many law enforcements have gotten hurt or killed in the current climate, many people are against us. And this is from the perspective of a police officer. During times when there are riots or where the world is considered more anti-law enforcement are human beings, and they also have feelings too. So they'll start to have thoughts about maybe not wanting to do certain things within their job. And I suggest as one option maybe is to reframe the thought. Some officers are indeed being killed in the line of duty, but I like my job of protecting and helping people. I can go out, I'm confident, and I can do the best work that I can do. And some people respect us as law enforcement. There's something called generalization when a statement is made, everybody hates me because I'm a police officer. That would be a generalization. The truth, probably the closer to the truth, I'm not sure, there's no real absolute truth, but the closer we get to a truth may be, some people do hate law enforcement officers, and some people do like law enforcement officers. And working with that thought pattern, right?
Right. Yeah, I think that's the interesting way to look at things. So, and do you think this is a mindset that people can develop right away, or does it take does it take a significant amount of time to kind of develop this mindset?
Look at your parents. Look at the people who raised you. That could be your mom. That could have been your dad. Moms or dads. That could have been caregivers. Even if you were in foster care. Look at who were the individuals who raised you. And then ask yourself that question.
Okay.
Because if I were raised by like a Buddhist monk, I probably wouldn't need therapy. I probably would have gotten some real positive. I would have been born into it. That would have been imprinted into my subconscious mind. But if I were raised in our ways that we raise kids now, then I need therapy. So I'm going to argue everybody probably needs a little bit of therapy at some point in their life, because you don't know what is going on with the subconscious, and it controls over 80% of what is being manifested in your behavior. So half of it is not even in conscious awareness. And you need a process to help sort that out. And I'm not saying psychotherapy is good for all, because there's different modalities in terms of therapy. Someone may want to do like things like cognitive behavioral or EMDR, things like that. But going to like a priest, if that is connected to your religion, may be your connection to figuring this out. Maybe working with a hypnotherapist. Maybe working with a nutritionist. I really believe it is about the relationship that can be formed between you and the other person. The other person needs to be pretty grounded, I will say. It's not a friend that's not grounded, and then you're going back in this negative talk, and it's not productive. It's just contributing to acidity in the mind, body, and spirit. So you need someone who is grounded and look at their life. Would you like to live the life, the impressions that they're living, and then follow them? Figure out what they're doing in these situations, how they're navigating relationships where people are mean to them or disrespecting them or belittling. How are they responding in those situations? As someone had asked me yesterday on a call for another podcast, what environment do I like being in? And I belong to a group of hypnotherapists and the facilitators. I like more of the energy the facilitators give off, because I think that's how us as mental health professionals should be showing up. But we're not. Mental health is changing in the way service delivery. But with hypnotherapists, they are kind, they are gentle, they receive information, and they give back positivity. In the realm of therapy, if I'm around my other co-workers who may be psychologists or licensed marriage therapists or licensed social workers, a lot of their issues are coming up and it is being expressed in the treatment room. So I would say, ask yourself that question: who were your caregivers? And you will then know whether or not you need to get help or whether or not you have already been clearly grounded in some of that material. And then seek out others. Seek out people from different communities and cultures and religions and all kinds of things. And you may see this like form of beauty that you've never seen before. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to just jump in real quick. It just sounds like what you're saying is that mental health is not a one-size-fits-all approach, and that each person should definitely try different things and different methods to kind of see what works for them individually, and try to get to the root cause of the issue, whether it be from a family or something that happened in the past. But each person is individual, and their treatment should be treated just like it is an individual person.
I love that. I love that summary and how you just really conceptualized it all and put it into a language that kind of makes sense for people to receive. It made me think of like a journey. And I may have even posed this question. Like, I think there's, in high school, I learned this phrase, know thyself. That came to me through an African proverb. And I've been on a journey to try to figure that out. And all the times that I got lost, I always came back. I got lost, I came back. I got lost, I came back. Life got chaotic, I came back. And so I always came back to this phrase, know thyself. And I think about it like, isn't that the purpose for everyone? Is a journey, is to get to know yourself. But maybe this lifetime, your journey is about physical health. Maybe your journey is about mental health. Maybe your journey is a spiritual one. Like for this lifetime, this is a spiritual journey for me, right? People who have a lot of maybe physical ailments or challenges throughout life, maybe that's a barrier. So maybe their journey isn't a physical one, but they can't get to the other stuff because the barrier of the physical stuff is getting involved. Or maybe it is a physical journey. Maybe they're learning to live life without limitations, even though they may have perceived limitations. Maybe it's a mental journey. Maybe it's negotiating all these thoughts, this battle that's in the mind that's creating all this chaos. And so I think for our audience, you have to ask yourself, what journey are you on? Is this a physical, mental, or spiritual journey? And embrace it. And allow things just to unfold as you travel through it.
Definitely, definitely. Well, that was a lot of great information we just gave the audience in this video. Before we wrap up, is there anything you wanted to add?
I wanted to just continue reading a few more sentences from the book.
Okay.
So it says, besides training thoughts, I also encourage my patients to explore other forms of meditation, including mantras, breathwork, mind, body, spirit connections, and trauma-sensitive meditations. Mantras, supporting a deeper inner spiritual need, and mantras go beyond the ego and towards a spiritual belief and connection. Sound and natural vibrations are used to support this deeper meditative state. Breath work. Breathing is vital to survival. Bringing oxygen into the bloodstream and removing carbon dioxide. A complete cycle involves your diaphragm, stomach, spine, and mind. Research tells us that breath work can support treatment associated with all types of trauma. It allows you to exhale carbon dioxide from the body, causing the blood to become more alkaline and retain more oxygen. This method can include chest breathing, diaphragm breathing, abdominal breathing, clavicle breathing. Focused breathing connects the conscious and the subconscious minds. It is the mind-body-spirit connection. And I wanted to leave with that in terms of the breath work, because that is whatever journey you're on, the journey is through your breath. It is the breath is a tool, I should say, through whatever journey that you feel that you are embarking in this lifetime.
And that is a great point. We'll leave it at that for today. Thank you so much for joining us today on this episode of the Trauma and Social Work Podcast. Until next time, everyone, be safe and bye-bye.
Bye. Take a moment to find a spot in front of you, a place where your eyes can rest comfortably. Focus on the one spot, noticing the details, the colors, and the shapes. And as you continue to focus, allow your eyes to soften, yet still remaining fixed on that one spot. You might even notice your eyelids becoming heavier and heavier and more relaxed. With each gentle breath in and out. That's right. As you stay focused, a calm, soothing feeling begins to flow through your body, starting from the top of your head, down your shoulders, and into your chest. Now, your eyelids, yes, those eyelids, they're becoming heavier and heavier, and that's okay. You can let them close whenever you're ready, sinking into a sense of peaceful relaxation and allowing yourself to drift inward. Going deeper and deeper. And with your eyes closed now, notice your breath, a soft rhythm guiding you deeper into calm. Each breath you take helps you to become more relaxed, and as you relax, your mind becomes clearer, like a still lake reflecting the sky. Imagine this stillness now. In this peaceful state, you notice how your thoughts begin to slow down, becoming gentle and soft. Whenever you notice a negative thought arising, your mind now will effortlessly replace it with words of encouragement and words of compassion, as though a trusted fan or friend is speaking directly to you. You hear this friend or someone from a distance saying, "You are doing your best, and that is enough. You are strong, you are capable, you are deserving kindness." Feel those words just wrapping all around you like a warm blanket, protecting and comforting you. Picture a golden light glowing at the center of your chest. With each inhale, this light grows brighter, spreading warmth and positivity throughout your entire day. This light clears away any negativity that fills you with love, confidence, and peace. And this light reminds you that you are safe, that you are supported, and that you are free to grow. And from this moment forward, anytime you notice a negative thought, you instinctively pause, take a deep breath, and hear the kind voice of your trusted and loving and compassionate friend guiding you towards words of encouragement and peace. This is your new way of being, calm, compassionate, and empowered. And now, as you prepare to return to full awareness, bringing with you this feeling of calm and positivity, you're ready. Begin to wiggle your fingers and toes, letting energy flow back into your body. On the count of 3, you will open your eyes, feeling refreshed, calm, and confident. 1, 2, 3. Eyes wide open, full awake, and you are ready to begin the rest of your day. Wraps up another episode. I hope today's discussion provided clarity and tools you can use in your daily life. If you're ready to take the next step in the healing journey, I'd love to connect. Head over to my website to schedule a free 15-minute consultation. It is a great opportunity to ask questions and see how we can work together. And while you're there, download my complimentary workbook, designed to help you reflect, grow, and move towards mental wellness, happiness, and success. Thanks for listening, and I will see you next time. The rhythm of healing, the Octave's method. O is for observation, through stillness we find meditation and breath work that quiet the mind. In silence we listen, the answers are clear, awareness emerges, dissolving the fear. C is for compassion, for self and for all, embracing the good, the struggles, the fall. With kindness we grow, we nurture, we mend, learning to love ourselves as we extend. T is for therapy, a path we explore. Daily we practice unlocking the door. From journaling to mindfulness, healing begins. Each step is a victory as peace settles in. A is for animals and laughter so bright, like children at play, their joy taking flight. With playfulness and movement, we rediscover the way to heal through the fun that we often delay. V is for victuals, nourishing and pure, detoxifying the body and keeping us sure. We choose what we eat with intention and grace, fueling our journey at our own pace. E is for exercise, where movement is free. We stretch and we bend in sweet harmony. Flexibility grows with choices we make, in strength and in stillness our bodies awake. S is for socialize, where self-growth begins. Others reflect our triggers and the places within. Through relationships, our true selves we find, growing and healing with each tie that binds. The Octave's method, where all behavior makes sense. We just need to find the sense it presents. We just need to find the sense it presents. We just need to find the sense it presents.